President Biden is set to sign an executive order on police reform marking the second anniversary of George Floyd's death. The 46-year-old Floyd died following Officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on his neck for more than 9 minutes during an arrest in Minneapolis. His death sparked a nationwide racial protest movement and also calls for police reform. The months of protest also led to widespread rioting, looting, vandalism, and in some cases, death, including 77-year-old David Dorn, a retired police captain who was fatally shot while responding to an alarm at a pawn shop in St. Louis. Joining us to discuss, retired St. Louis police sergeant and wife of slain officer David Dorn, Ann Dorn. And welcome back to National Report. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I know the 2-year anniversary of your husband's death is coming up on June 2nd, and we have seen crime continue to rise across this nation, most recently, of course, in Uvalde, Texas. How are you dealing with it all?
It's been difficult. The first year was a blur. The second year, a lot of people say, it gets easier, but the second year has been the worst. And I get by with family and friends. They really stay close to me, and we make sure everything is good.
And I'm sure, of course, as you celebrate these holidays without your husband, it's so different every time. And I know anyone who's, of course, lost a family member feels like you're missing their presence around the dinner table or when you're sharing and opening gifts at Christmas time. We continue to see this violence here, and it doesn't look like that trend is stopping at this point. I know you've gotten experience in law enforcement. Tell me what you've noticed about these patterns that we've seen, and if there's really any solution that is attainable at this point.
It's gotten worse. I think it's perpetuated a lot by the government. I hate to say the media also. Before the media was so widespread, a lot of this violence didn't take place. And I think because it sensationalizes things, people who would not be martyred are becoming martyrs because of the things that they do. Kids see this every day, and they grow up to it. Unfortunately, we've lost all these children that needlessly lost their lives yesterday, and people are falling through the cracks. There should be school resource officers. I was a school resource officer for 8 years. And that was back in the 90s. There should be school resource officers in all of our schools, just so the kids get to know the police. So there is a sense of safety there. And it could prevent it. If someone has the intention of coming in to shoot up a school and there's an armed police officer in there, it's going to stop a lot of things from happening.
Yeah. If we could tap into that experience that you have working in the schools, we've also seen students. Unfortunately, again, it's those teenagers, typically young men who unleash this sort of violence. When you're watching these students day to day, are there warning signs that perhaps you note maybe a student who just doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the classroom, who might be showing signs of violence?
Oh, yes, especially I was embedded in the school. I was there every day. I got to know my students really well. If there was something off, I picked up on it. If the other kids picked up on it, they would come to me and tell me, and it was nothing for me to pull them aside and talk to them. And if I had to, I called in other people to help, and we really, I believe in the 8 years that I was in the school, we circumvented so many problems that could have happened and just prevented things from happening, because even the kids had said, hey, I knew you were there and I knew you were armed, so I wasn't about to come in and do anything. So, that just knowing there's an armed person there who's trained prevents so many things from taking place.
And you talk about the friendly relationship you would have with students, too. I remember my school resource officer. He was a hit among the kids. He would hang out in the lunchroom with us, too. And you'd feel a sense of comfort around this person who you'd see every day and trust as well. As we sort of get the news angle in here, of course, President Biden is set to sign a police reform executive order later today. Some things that it will do aims to promote accountability, raise standards, support law enforcement with improved systems and training, improved data transparency, oversight, and new technologies, reforms our broader criminal justice system. And when you look at some of these that are listed here, do you think this is headed in the right direction?
Some of those, yes. Improved training, definitely. We don't need more training. We need better training. We need more advanced training. And promotes accountability. Yes, every officer on the street should be held accountable for their actions. there are good and bad out there, and the bad need to be weeded out, and I'm all for that, and I always have been. Um, but there has to be funding, and you have to get the best of the best out there. And right now, they're not willing to pay, and the hiring has gone to nothing. Agencies are 30% short at a minimum of staffing, and it's becoming extremely dangerous for officers out on the street right now. But they also need to promote mental wellness for officers. If
Yeah.
you don't have an agency that is mentally well, you're not going to have officers doing right things on the street.
Yeah, it's such a great point. As you point out, you want to have these officers make sure that they've got the resources they need to do their jobs properly. Ann Dorn, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a tough time for you, but we're thinking about you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Take care. All right, a quick programming note for you at home. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can tune in to watch America Burning. It's Newsmax's original documentary chronicles how, for months after George Floyd's death, America burned as riots rampaged in cities across America, leaving at least 25 dead, resulting in billions of dollars worth of damage, and leaving America more divided than ever. We're still feeling that today. Again, tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern.